This is Barnstable Today for Friday, March 13th. Welcome aboard. I'm Mark Mumford, and just a quick reminder right here at the top that you can watch the meetings we cover on demand at the town's website, town.barnstable.ma.us.
Construction of a 1.5 million gallon water tank in Centerville is our top story. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kevin Friel.
The request comes from the Centerville, Osterville, Marston's Mills Fire District and Water Department.
Representatives of the project appeared before site plan review in Town Hall yesterday.
They want to construct the new tank in the same area where a smaller one now sits just off Old Stage Road.
Site plan review member Steve Seymour had some questions about curb cuts.
That gives a total of like 3 accesses for this site, including the one off of Shoot Flying Hill Road, in that if one can be eliminated, I don't know why you'd need all 3 in it. So we were thinking that, maybe you'd keep the existing main entrance if you wanted to, and then bring the other one in and, have a turnaround spot at the end and then turn around and pull back out again. Does that work out for you guys?
Yeah, we've had 3 meetings with the residents that live off of Shoot Flying Hill, public meetings with them, and they wanted that access off of Shoot Flying Hill extension cut off. They paid for the road to be improved, so we put some plantings there. We put a fence around the entire property so that it limits people going through there. We did need that second access just for a couple issues. One, during construction and maintenance further down the road when we have to repaint the tank, and security. When the police drive by, if they have a line of sight going in either way into that tank, it helps out with keeping people out of there. So we request to have both the existing curb cuts off of Old Stage Road remain and use those.
A compromise was reached, and one point of access will remain closed most of the time.
Stepping away from the meeting front, we would like to give you a preview of a new edition of the Channel 18 program, Barnstable Then and Now.
It is hosted by Lynn Gobeil, Special Projects Coordinator for the Town Manager's Office, who is also a retired history teacher at Barnstable High School.
The program features 2 special guests, starting with retired Barnstable teacher and school administrator T. Walter Wani.
Welcome once again to Barnstable Then and Now. I'm Len Gobeil. Our 2 guests today come from different backgrounds, but they both dedicated their lives to helping the people of the town of Barnstable. Thomas Walter Wani and John Francis Elmer are natives of Barnstable. Walter Wani graduated from BHS in 1946, and he went on to a career in education, was a math and English teacher, and he culminated his education with the position of being principal at Barnstable High School. Walter also served as a town councilor, and he served on the Conservation Commission. He now has a full-time career as a grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather. Walter, what was the town of Barnstable like back in 1946 when you graduated from Barnstable High School? That was just after World War II. What was Barnstable like back then?
Well, at that time, of course, being at war, everyone was on rations, and everyone had people serving in the military, and the deaths were never ending. So it was kind of a somber time until the summertime of '45, and then everything broke loose. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I remember I spent the whole night down in Main Street in Hyannis.
You were from Centerville.
Right.
And you came all the way to the big city of Hyannis.
Oh, I hitchhiked all the way. Sometimes I had to wait 15 minutes for a car to come by.
Those were the days.
Long time ago.
Sure. Did you know you were going to have a career in education?
It was, I was convinced of it by a friend of mine. And he was a teacher, and then he became a principal. And So he said, why don't you give it a go? So I got a teaching certificate right after I got through college.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Suffolk Law School, and then I went into Bridgewater and got a master's degree.
And came back and became a teacher in the town of Barnstable.
Right.
And you started at the middle school.
Started at the middle school.
At that time, the middle school and the high school were together, is that correct?
Right. They had just moved over to the old high school, John Linehan.
So you worked for John Linehan.
Right.
How many stories could you tell us about John Linehan?
Many.
Also joining Len Gobeil on Barnstable Then and Now is Jack Elmer, who has held many key positions, including that of state senator.
We have a second guest today. He is a native of the town of Barnstable. His father was a native of the town of Barnstable. And Jack Elmer went on to a distinguished career in the maritime industry, in politics, in education, and in giving back to his community. Jack Elmer is also retired and spends countless hours with his grandchildren. Jack, welcome to Barnstable Then and Now.
Thank you very much.
When we spoke about coming on our program, you mentioned that at one time the villages of Barnstable were very unique and very individual. And you called yourself back in when we had this conversation, an Austerville boy. You had a lot of friends in Austerville. And I guess that the villages were quite separate and quite unique,
Yes,
more so than they are today.
I think so. This is going to be an echo chamber because, like my good friend Walter, I both attended Suffolk University and picked up a law degree, and I also went to Bridgewater State College for a master's degree. But that's a that's a reflection of the past. And when I think of Barnstable, I automatically think of the villages. I don't know. I guess it's the unconscious nature of my involvement later on in politics, where each village was an entity unto itself. And of course, that's demonstrative in looking at the 7 fire departments or the multiple this or the multiple that. If you look at our town, and it's true that at one time we had as many as 3 Barnstable high schools. So that's another echo chamber with Walter. I do have one regret that this town did not look at multiple high schools. If you look at Weymouth North, Weymouth South, and Plymouth North, Plymouth South, and it's just too big a situation. And now the school committee is having to do that which this community should have done by itself some years ago. But with respect to the villages, I love the villages. I love the ability of having to live in Austerville. And during the war years, my dad went into the Navy, and myself and my sisters and brothers and my mother had to run a small farm. And fortunately, that farm was owned and operated by a wonderful woman who happened to be the chairman of the school committee, Jean Hinkle. And my dad was the caretaker / farmer of the farm. She was a wonderful woman and very, very generous to the village of Barnstable and the town of Barnstable, to the extent that we basically lived in a galaxy that basically was run by Jean Hinkle on a day-to-day basis, and Barnstable being brought up. But the work ethic was important in those years, as it is, I think, still today. Walter was talking about thumbing here and thumbing there. Now you can't even think about thumbing a ride. But I think of our old venerable coach, Leo Shields, who also lived in Austerville. He got wind of the fact that the Austerville guys on the football team were getting rides home from people who lived in Austerville but worked in Hyannis. And he made it his business to go around and tell them all if he was going to let his ball players out of practice a little late occasionally, don't pick them up. Let them walk or let them run better.
Check the Channel 18 schedule at the town's website, town.barnstable.ma.us, to get the specific times as Barnstable Then and Now will start airing this weekend.
Also tonight, right here on Channel 18, last night's first public hearing on the Charter Commission draft document will be shown starting at 7 o'clock. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Kevin Friel.
We'll meet you right back here on Monday. I'm Mark Mumford.